As recently as November of 2019, Ireland had Fine Gael government ministers expressing their anger that asylum seekers were being dropped into their constituency without prior consultation. The Minister for Rural and Community Development at the time, Michael Ring, demanded a national debate on immigration, saying that it had to happen now. As reported by RTE on the 6th of November 2019,
the issue of direct provision centres being set up for asylum seekers across the country has been in focus in recent weeks. There have been protests in Balnamore in County Leitrim, in Uachtarard in Galway and on Achill in County Mayo. That's in the constituency of the Minister for Rural and Community Development, Michael Ring. Today he said he was angry that he wasn't fully informed about plans to move a group of people into Achill.
Nobody knew who was coming. You're saying 13 women. When I got the first message, it was 70 males. We need to have a national debate in relation to asylum seekers, in relation to immigration, and we need to have that national debate now.
The broadcaster then interviewed Galway councillor Thomas Welby, who said that a lack of consultation and communication were behind the protests in his area, exactly the same as the objections that people are levelling today.
Plans to set up a direct provision centre in Uachtarard in Galway were abandoned after locals demonstrated. A local councillor there blamed a lack of consultation and communication.
They cannot wake up on the Monday morning and find that a deal has been done without them knowing it, and where it impacts on the services. A consultation is critical.
Responding to these objections at the time, in November 2019, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar said that some communities felt their trust had been broken by the lack of consultation and that he was working to rebuild that trust.
Some feel the trust with communities has been broken. And as a government, we're working to rebuild that trust, trying to communicate better than we have in the past, and engaging with communities to show how their town or village or parish will be enhanced and not diminished by the arrival of newcomers.
Now, there's a lot that's striking about all of this. For example, the fact that as recently as a few years ago, a Fine Gael Cabinet Minister could openly say the same things that the East Wall protesters are saying with virtually no issue. The Taoiseach didn't denounce Michael Ring as far right for saying this. These were perfectly normal views being expressed at the time by a government minister. But now, if you say these things just a couple of years later, we're to believe that you're a horrible monster, apparently. But I think the really notable part is the Taoiseach's comment there at the end about rebuilding trust and engaging with communities and so on. And the reason that that's so interesting is, as you can see here from this World Bank chart, the number of refugees in Ireland in 2019, when all of these protests were taking place, was a tiny fraction of what we have today. So in other words, when people protested in 2019 and they calmly and peacefully made it clear to the government what their objections were and why they didn't want asylum centres in their local area, the Taoiseach very earnestly looked them in the eye and said, "Don't worry, we want to engage with you and rebuild trust." And apparently his way of doing that was by bringing in 10 times more asylum seekers over the next couple of years and cramming them into people's areas even more aggressively than before. Apparently rebuilding trust means when somebody tells you, "Hey, I don't like what you're doing, please stop," you blatantly ignore them and ramp up the behaviour exponentially and then insult them when they complain.
I know you don't want this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
That is seemingly the government's idea of constructive engagement with locals, and we don't have to speculate that this is how politicians feel, because Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has explicitly said that the so-called community engagement that his government are participating in has nothing to do with seeking permission and is instead about helping communities to welcome new arrivals to their area.
The purpose of the community engagement team is to improve the flow of information regarding arrivals into areas and to help equip local communities with the information required to help them understand the current situation and to assist with the welcome and integration process for new arrivals. It's not a case that community engagement is about seeking permission from communities as to whether people are going to move into their area.
It is about information, dispelling misinformation, and responding to genuine worries.
So what he's actually saying there is that when the government sits down to quote unquote engage with ordinary citizens, it's not really a negotiation or good faith discussion. The outcome has already been predetermined before you even sat down at the table. The message is, we are putting this asylum centre into your area and we're not asking for your permission, full stop. You have absolutely no say as to what happens here, and the matter is settled whether you like it or not. However, if you'd like, we can explain to you why you're wrong and why us forcing this on you is actually a good thing. And alternatively, if you don't like that, we can publicly insult you and smear you as a racist extremist. But those are your options. Take your pick. That is actually the message and the subtext that is being presented to the public. And then politicians wonder why the temperature of the debate keeps rising and rising as people get angrier and angrier at being treated this way. It's essential that we have a calm, reasonable debate about these issues, as Michael Ring so astutely called for in 2019. But that's not going to happen when the government is openly antagonising the public and treating them with obvious contempt. My name is Ben Scallan and you're watching Gript Media. Follow us for more content like this.